Okay, so here is what I have. This is basically a sort of in concept kind of thing. I'm calling them the freezer flaps. It's not quite a winter sock, and it's not quite a travel sock like the War Bonnet Outdoors guys have. Essentially all this is, and I try to keep it as simple and as lightweight as possible, yet still effective for cutting wind and retaining your body heat. Obviously, as you can see right now, the hammock's just exposed. There is no tarp currently here. But if you think about it, in a really strong wind or whatever, the tarp is going to do most of the major lifting for you. It's not really going to allow a whole lot of wind to get past it. And then whatever does manage to squeeze through your four-season doors or maybe slip underneath, it's not going to affect the freezer flaps nearly as much as you would think. So this is basically what it looks like from a broad view. So if you'll poke out Pud, okay.
It keeps Printer warm too.
So all it does is it's like a drape almost. It's not really meant to be a fully enclosed system, because why carry all that extra weight to sort of cocoon the underneath of the hammock when you ultimately end up having to add more weight to it. You have to add a zipper, you have to add extra material all the way underneath, you have to add all the extra thread to sew it together. So I've been working on a couple different ways to make this as easy and as simple of a system to use. So let me take you in for a closer look. Okay, so first of all, what we have up here up top is we have a sewn-in channel. And before I get into that, let me just go ahead and tell you first off too that there are no special cuts to this project at all. I just happen to have a little bit of this multicam fabric left over from when I made my hammock. And it was just about the length of my structural ridgeline. So I believe it's somewhere in the ballpark of 90 to 95 inches. I know that a lot of people like to go either 100 or 110. I'm a short guy at 5'6", and I happen to go with a 95-inch structural ridgeline. So I had this extra material left over. So like I said, no special cuts. The fabric itself is 60 inches wide, and it is 90 to 95 inches long. I can't remember exactly how long it is. So all I did was I folded the material in half and tossed it on the thread injector, and I sewed in a channel here. It's not very deep. It's just enough to get a section of Lash It or Zing It or Dynaglide or Amsteel. It is big enough for Amsteel, just in case that's all you have or whatever. So it works out really well. The ends here also have a small gross grain tab. And I just put a little bit of shock cord here on the end, and I've got it clipped onto continuous loop. I've got it wrapped over the continuous loop here on the end. Now, on down on the sides, I have two little gross grain tabs here on each corner as well. Some people, I figured, might want to stake these corners down. Okay? And you can totally do that, but it requires an extra step with an extra piece of cord. I don't really consider these S-beaners extra because I always carry them with me anyway, so I figure if I'm not going to be hanging up anything extra, that I can just take this S-beaner, and what I do is I clip the two corners together, and then I just clip it onto the shock cord for my underquilt, and it kind of helps keep it tucked. But because of this like bowing action that I've got going on here, it allows for a little bit of air to get underneath there and reduce condensation. Now this material is a 1.55 ounce ripstop material, so it is fairly light, but it does have nanosphere applied to it so that the wind and water repellency is actually pretty good. Now, I did anticipate a problem when I first got started, and that problem was, well, when you're laying asym, the hammock itself is going to be wider than it is when it's just dangling free. And I figured, well, that means that the flaps are going to try to fall inside the hammock, and they're not going to be doing a very good job of breaking the wind if that's the case. So what I ended up doing, if you will, babe, show them. Okay, here on the sides, all I did was take some no-seam mesh netting, flip it all the way up, and I basically added these two pockets, one on one side and one on the other. Will you flip it all the way over just real quick? Yep, just toss it all the way over. No, all over the top. Okay, so you still have access to your ridgeline underneath there if you don't want to run it through the channel. So you can still clip your lights on and stuff, but I put two pockets on each side. Most people usually go to bed with at least a couple things, whether it be a knife. In this case, I've got my Bora bushcraft knife in there. In the other pocket, most people go to bed with maybe like a phone or a book. Most likely a headlamp, so that when nature calls in the morning, you'll be able to see your way to the bathroom. So if you toss your headlamp inside there and a knife or what have you, it basically pulls down the flap. So you stick it in the pocket, and it helps kind of seal it up. It's not like a full-on seal, but it lays, gravity does most of the work. It lays right up against the hammock and the underquilt and essentially makes it kind of a light cocoon.
We've got some heavy winds out here, and I'm not feeling any of it inside.
Okay, yeah, because I don't know if it's translating or not, but there is quite a bit of wind. I'd say we've at least got gusts of maybe 10, 15, maybe even 20 miles an hour here at times. And as of right now, that material does an excellent job of cutting the wind. And I'm sure the same thing would be true with like a 1.1 ripstop nylon as well. So, and it works whether you lay left or right sided. The whole thing, by my scale, and this is with a 1.55 ounce ripstop, is probably going to be weigh very comparable to, say, like Dutch's Argon 1.6, or perhaps Poly D. But you could also use Hyper D if you wanted to use a 1.0 ounce or a 1.1 ripstop. The only problem here is that it can't be waterproof because all you're going to do is you're going to increase the level of condensation that could potentially build up on the inside. So you're going to want a fabric that is breathable and non-coated. But all in all, I think this is going to be a really good lightweight system just for retaining a little bit of extra body heat and cutting the residual wind that might get through your tarp. And I just want to let everyone know that I did a test the other night where I had a thermostat inside and a thermostat outside. I was able to raise the temperature inside the hammock by 12 degrees in under an hour. So it worked out really well as far as I'm concerned. Are you feeling any of that wind, babe?
A little bit. It's just because it's blowing in here at the top.
Okay. Well, I would say that the tarp will probably end up cutting most of that out. So you'll basically just be getting a slight amount of residual wind that will come in later. But if anyone has any ideas, if anyone has any suggestions, if anyone has any potential ways that I could improve on this design. I have thought about maybe putting a strip of Velcro here on the ends and maybe sealing it up a little bit more to reduce that flapping. I just didn't want to add anything extra if I didn't have to, so this is actually my first test clipping it up, the two. Before, what I did is I took the S-beaners and I just let them hang like this, and then I would hang like my my toiletries bag or my cook set or whatever right here on the end, and just sort of let it pull it taut for me. And that seemed to work out really, really well. And I think that if the wind is coming in from the ends, maybe that would be the case, because it doesn't take a whole lot to hold this really lightweight fabric down. And most of the time I'm going to hang a few things off my Ridgeliner suspension anyway, so you know, putting something, kind of hanging something up here that I'm not going to be using anyway, it might be worth a shot. So like I said, if anyone's got any other ideas or any suggestions, I'd love to hear them. If you guys are interested in how I built it, just shoot me a message, leave a comment below, or look me up over on hammockforums.net. My name is Sir Marcos there, and let me know what I can help out with. Talk to you guys later.